Welcome to our quarterly webinar series with John Burns Real Estate Consulting Group. This is Liz Polson, HomeSphere's Marketing Director. I just wanted to take a second and thank you for taking time out of your day today to attend our event. We'll be covering energy and technology in the home by generations, and our presentation is sponsored by HomeSphere's preferred partner, GE Energy. The GE Energy Solutions division for the residential market focuses on electrical protection and temporary power. GE Energy Solutions provides a wide range of load center, circuit breaker, and safety switch products for the home. Presenting on behalf of GE Energy today is Brad Parlee, and Brad is GE's Load Center Product Manager. And I'll let Brad take it away from here.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm just going to take you for a quick educational and a little bit of a promotional tour through some GE products and the National Electric Code and safety in general. To start off with here, we have this slide, a general commentary about the General Electric's innovation in the home over the years, starting off with the light bulb in 1879. Is the only remaining Dow index component still traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So we have a long and fabled history of coming up with lots of innovation. And these are but a small portion of the ones that applied to the homes that we all enjoyed over the years. The last one here is a shared neutral AFCI circuit breaker, which is a real innovation. I'll cover that later. But it helps with the application of arc fault circuit breakers. So if you look at what's happening in the home today, this is a typical home as laid out per the NEC in 2014. It's a quick overview that illustrates the number of electronic protection devices that will be required as states adopt NEC 2014. And we're about 25 to 40% through that on a state basis and a little less than that on a local basis. So what you've got is a real revolution here in terms of protection. For years and years and years, the only protection you got was the thermomagnetic circuit breakers pictured in the lower right. Those were capable of protecting against short circuits and overloads, but they did little to protect against people being shocked, fire protection from arcing, or both those protections on the same circuit. So I'm going to run you through the newer circuit breakers just to give you a little better understanding of their application and what their intention is. Starting off with the oldest one here, the Gfci circuit breaker has been with us for about 30 or 40 years. It protects against people being shocked. It has a 5 milliamp limit. It basically looks at the current going out and the current coming back, and if more than 5 milliamps is missing, then it shuts off the circuit. Recently, though, UL has required that they have a self-test circuit in them. And what that means is, for those of you who have ever looked, there's a big red button on the circuit breaker, all brands, and you push the button and it would test itself to make sure that its circuitry was working. Now the circuit breaker itself has to do that test every 16 minutes on its own per UL. So breakers manufactured after June 2015, so last year this transformation occurred, will have a self-test mechanism, and if it fails, then it will turn itself off and will not be able to be reset. So the circuit breaker is indicating that it needs to be replaced because it's not providing the protection that's intended. These are typically applied to kitchens and bathrooms and places where there's a chance for exposure to water, where it's easier to get a low resistance person in the middle of a circuit, and it trips out, as I said, at 5 milliamps, which is uncomfortable but not dangerous at all. So that protects against people. With the advent of the self-test, we added an LED on it so it can tell you more or less why it's tripping, or if it's having some failure, and it also, all that provides additional safety for the homeowner because they're not thinking they're getting GFCI protection and not getting it. But again, this was dictated by UL, so it's automatically happening. Arc fault circuit breaker protection's been with us for, it's unbelievable, but it's been with us for about 10 or 12 years now as the codes rolled out. It has gotten much more sensitive. It has gotten much more selective. It has gotten much more forms of protection. So this product has evolved a lot from the initial offering and is providing a lot more protection in a lot more homes. And we are seeing data now that clearly indicates that electrical fires are on the decline. And you could deduce from that that this is, because we've got so many of these devices installed now, that you're not seeing the smoldering, flickering kind of fires that we used to see. In particular to GE, if this presentation is going out, which I'm not sure it is or not, but if you just Google GE AFCI Advantage, it's actually me doing a presentation on YouTube at one of the shows in California about some of the specific advantages of GE. And if anybody's involved in any kind of retrofit projects, or if you're interested in trying to reduce the expense of your electrical installations, there's a couple of tidbits there, which I'll go into a little bit here as well. But basically, these circuit breakers are a very compact design. On the GE side, you can see one competitors there hangs way out in the wire and gutting, making for sort of a sloppy installation. Our circuit breaker, which is pictured on the left upper corner there, is the same size as all the standard circuit breakers, so it doesn't clutter up the wiring gutter. It also has this advantage where you can use this circuit breaker with a shared neutral circuit. It's probably a little technical for everybody, but if when you're running a piece of Romex across the house and it's protected by an arc fault circuit breaker, you have the option with GE of applying a portion of the code which allows you to reduce the amount of wire that's run and potentially the number of wire runs, which can reduce in a safe installation that reduce costs. In this installation, you can see the diagram demonstrates that you can do with a 3-wire conductor what you'd normally take two 2-wire conductors to do. So if you do that, it could add up to about $100 a homes if you used all shared neutral circuits. The next one I'm going to cover is a dual function circuit interrupter. It is actually it's a confusing term to some, but just remember that the current AFCI circuit breaker has series and parallel protection in it, and it's called a combination arc fault circuit breaker. A dual function circuit breaker has combination arc fault circuit breaker plus GFCI in it. And this has come around because the code is now requiring AFCI and GFCI protection in some rooms, such as kitchens and laundries. So you have both the need for AFCI and GFCI protection. And in those rooms, this kind of circuit breaker makes sense from an economical standpoint, from a reduced callback standpoint. Practically any way you look at it, this is the way to go. And the reason for it is from an economic standpoint, the AFCI plus a GFCI receptacle is more expensive than just having a dual function circuit breaker. From the reduced callback standpoint, it basically, you're taking the homeowner out of the thing that tripped routine. In other words, if it could have tripped at the GFCI receptacle and it could have tripped at the load center, then the homeowner may not hunt around for it. They may just call the builder or the electrician and try to get some guidance as to what's going on. With these, you can always send the homeowner to the load center and just reset it. But these are coming in as a result of the changes in NEC 14, which again kind of dictates that dual protection requirement in laundries and kitchens, and that'll probably expand over time to cover some additional areas. The GE circuit breakers in general, these are two of our sort of tried and true thermomagnetic circuit breakers. We have copper stabs, and every single breaker is calibrated individually, so we have very, very high quality control over what we're tripping on and what we're not. We protect that calibration with cement so it can't come loose. What you're seeing is both our GE 1-inch and our GE half-inch circuit breaker. We don't use tandems or quads or anything like that most of our competitors do. If you buy one circuit breaker from General Electric, you only kind of have to do the accounting around buying that one circuit breaker. So the THQP half-inch is a very, very viable product for reducing your costs, reducing the height of your load center, and obviously, you know, that can look a little better aesthetically and give you the same amount of protection as using the 1-inch, which is what our competition generally offers. Finally, the load center. It's a very, very robust kind of commercial product. We have not come out with a fighter brand or a home line or a all aluminum bus kind of offering. All our load centers have copper bus. It's tin plated to reduce the corrosion that you can see on our competitors' copper bus. Often it turns green, just like the Statue of Liberty. The commercial quality enclosure is galvanized. It won't corrode. Very rigid, so it has a long life and nice even cover fit when it's finished. And a very bright interior. Galvanized metal mounting rail. It's durable, won't crack. It locates the circuit breaker very well. And all of our main circuit breakers in a single phase offering for residents is a very overbuilt 22 kAIC main circuit breaker, and that's interrupting capacity. So if you have a transformer right near the house, there's no chance that a bolted fault will cause the circuit breaker to deteriorate in any way. But that's basically it. So if you have any questions, I'm sure we can funnel them back through the email chain. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's happened with the NEC and what GE has to offer to address those needs. And with that, I'll pass it back to Mollie.
Great, thanks, Brad. Really valuable information about that code requirement and GE's core products. I know there's quite a few builders on the call today that'll find that helpful and useful. And just wanted to remind everybody, if you have any questions for Brad or about GE Energy, you can go ahead and use the webinar chat feature or submit a question through the GoToWebinar. And I will gather your questions and we will cover those at the end of the presentation, time permitting. I'm going to make Mollie the presenter here, and we're now going to turn our attention to today's core presentation from John Burns Real Estate Consulting. They are a HomeSphere industry partner and are a national leader in housing research. Presenting today is Mollie Carmichael. Mollie is a principal at John Burns in the custom consulting practice. Mollie, I'll let you take it from here.
Great. Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Brad. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us today. We're going to dive in and we're going to look at some of the new technology trends that we've been researching and the proposition of where we're at, and I think really a huge opportunity for us too as well. The presentation today, I'm gonna touch on a little bit about us. I promise to be short, and then we're gonna dive into some of the findings we have now for Consumer Insights 2016. So as a company, this is really what we do. For those of you who know us or don't know us, if you know us, you've heard this before, but if you don't know us, briefly, our goal is to help you with the best information possible from coast to coast to help you make better decisions, and a lot of that has to do with how you're designing your strategies, how you're designing your homes, and how you're designing your overall investment opportunity for the future. We do have a team here that's tracking market health across the country. I don't think anybody does it better than our team. We're looking at not only quantitative trends, but qualitative trends and what's actually happening in our business. We have a demand by life stage model that actually tracks what consumers are doing today as it relates to housing purchases by demographic profile, by price point, by the kinds of products they're purchasing, and how does that change over time. We're going to hit today Consumer Insights, and we do a consumer preferences study about every year to year and a half on what consumers are looking for in home and community. I was at an interesting lecture last night, and he was a fantastic speaker. He's a great storyteller, and he was talking about vision and how important you know, looking at everything there is in the market. But it was interesting to me from a consumer perspective. It was more about vision than consumer. And, you know, I just think it's all about the consumer. It starts with who they are and what they want and what they're about. And our goal is really to solve for that. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. Housing supply, this is where a lot of people start, which is what's everyone else doing, what's successful, what isn't successful. And it's a great place to look, but it's certainly not the place I'd start. I think understanding behavior first and what they want and all those things that are important to them are huge. And then, of course, looking at builder strategies. We have a product called Design Lens, and I'm constantly looking for things like technology trends and things that are happening out there in the new home world. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, it's important to test it. So, so that sort of sums up kind of what we do as a company. And we're going to hit the two red pieces, which is our consumer insights piece, as well as some of the product solutions that are out there today. And I think product solutions that aren't out there today, that I will tell you for home technology, that is the bigger opportunity today. So with that in mind, again, where does our business begin? It absolutely starts with the consumer. Without them, we couldn't sell anything. So that's a huge part of this, and we're going to focus a lot there. So the sample size that we're going to be using for this, it's close to 22,000. We had over 100 questions. You can see the respondents from coast to coast. This is over a 99% accuracy for the new home builder, and certainly it has a focus on the new home shopper. The key in our survey is everything was about what they want next. We did not ask them if they were happy with the home they purchased or happy with their current home or any of those kinds of things, at least as their primary focus. We asked them, what do they want next? In most cases, we also asked them if they would pay for it as well. So it was an email survey. It was very visual. Again, we had 100+ questions. Our builders, our new home builders, and a huge thanks to them, launched this to their new home shopper list. And some of them actually sent it out to their recent home buyers as well. And the key for this was to visually actually look at those things that they wanted, and not just say, hey, do you want this? But ask them, you know, what's the value of that, and would they actually pay for this? So we'll talk a lot about that as well. Who was the shopper out there, and who should you be focusing on this year? So if we look at population, which are the top numbers above, and I've tied those, we're now looking at all of our research by generation and generational segment. There'll actually be a book coming out on this as well very shortly. But Chris Porter in our office and John Burns and a huge team of people have just been tearing apart the census and studying the heck out of what's going on from a demographic standpoint. And now broken those from generations like boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, silent generation, and so forth, now into these generational segments. So you can see these actually now in decades. But if we look at the more macro view for purposes of this discussion, you look at the population, and today, the biggest population that's 25 years of age and older is actually that baby boomer population. Interestingly enough, they're also the biggest shopper out there in the market today, too. As interesting, they're the most likely to tell us that they can't find what they're looking for. And I will tell you the solutions for what we call the innovators and the achievers is very different. So Hillary being in the achievers and Bill being in the innovator category. If you look at Gen X, they are actually number 2, even though they're the smaller as a percentage of population and fewer birth years actually involved in the Gen X group. It's still your number 2 shopper today. It's also your number 2 population, 25+. Gen Y is growing for sure, and they're getting there, but remember they're still 16 years of age today, up to the age of 34, so, or 35 actually today. But if we look at it from a total population standpoint, it's 20%, but in the shopper category, it's 17%. Why is that? They're getting married later, they're having kids later, and all those things are kind of the urgency that moves us from either renting or living at home with mom and dad or friends to actually diving out there and purchasing a home. So who can actually use some of this information? I mean, it's the regular guys, but I always like to stress it's more than just product design. It's more than purchasing. It's more than sales. It really is a strategic tool to help you figure out where should you be investing, what should you be investing in, and what are the kinds of products and the things that you should be thinking about with your investments. So let's dive into some of the solutions. This is the fun stuff. I love this part. So it really is time. You know, we actually, not only do we do consumer insights, but we have a product called Design Lens where we're looking at best designs across the country. And I keep searching for technology or great innovation out there as it relates to space or you name it. And I'm not seeing a ton of great technology out there, and it's interesting. So I really think it's time to bring forward not just home design, but bringing technology into our homes. And I think sometimes there is the consumer that is concerned that technology is going to change a lot, so it's got to be versatile. There's the consumer that may be concerned about technology being invasive, so it has to be very secure. There's all kinds of things that you need to think about on this, but there are key things here that can really make a difference. And I think for the builders and the groups out there listening today, it really can set you apart. Of our top 10 trends of over 100 questions and several hundred variables that we looked at, technology and making space smarter, I think, are two of the top trends for 2016 and likely going into 2017. We've yet to sort of catch up with that. And if you look at home innovation and if you look at home design over time, I don't think it's really caught up with a lot of product innovation that's out there. So there's huge opportunities out there, and it's really cool to see a lot of those new pieces out there. So what's the goal? It's really just simply making life easier. Don't we all want that? I mean, I certainly do. And so let's look at some of those things. So again, I talked about Design Lens. For anybody listening on the call, if there's super cool innovations out there that are seeing great technology, please email me. I'd love to feature that, and I'd love to uncover and continue to share as an industry together to make a difference. So again, what do they really want? Let's kind of look at the key features of what technology can do, and it seems almost counterintuitive. But what do they really want? And the first one is, you know, everybody wants comfort. I mean, your home is your sort of your safe place. It's the nest. It's where you're protecting the thing that you love the most. They want security. And so how do we actually make home the most secure place that you are, or when you're not there, for the loved ones that you have there? Health is huge, of course. As we're getting much older as a population, we're living longer, but we're also thinking about health a lot more than we ever have been before. Clean air came up very big this year on some of our testing, and it's interesting. We all take that for granted, which is natural, but I've actually seen a higher percentage, particularly for the Asian population, more focused on things like clean air. Savings, of course, that's obviously the very logical one. We obviously want to do everything we can to save, and we can invest in all the things that we just talked about, spending time with loved ones and doing the things we really want to do in the end. And then last but not least, really what matters most. I mean, again, it's that time with family, it's that time with your kids, and really just enjoying the reason we all work so hard is all about home. So let's look at the numbers. We asked consumers what they would pay for smart home technology. And I will tell you, we've been asking this for several years now, and the numbers continue to go up. And I will tell you that the cost of it actually continues to go down. So we asked if consumers would pay another $2,500 for smart home technology, and 65% today actually will pay more for smart home technology. Done right, it should be less than that. Things like Nest that offer temperature control, and there's all kinds of pieces that actually tie in with Nest. There's integrated remote smoke detectors. In addition to that, 87% said they would pay an additional $400 for upgraded lighting in their new home. So what are the kinds of things? There's all kinds of fantastic lighting products out there. I actually went to document a bunch of them, and there were so many of them that I thought, you know, I think the pure focus on great lighting in the home, and I would emphasize that lighting is about sort of the lighting that we were just speaking of, and certainly light bulbs and things like that. But there's also just all forms of light, which are just natural glass. We see a huge percentage of consumers that want that glass, particularly off the back of the home, connecting from the inside to the outdoors, and the outdoors obviously connecting to the inside. So it's over 70% will pay for those big sliding glass doors and things like that to get that natural light as well. 89%, when we asked them would they pay an additional $400 for a controllable thermostat, logically speaking, of course I want a controllable thermostat. But 80% said they would actually pay another $500 for a dual zone thermostat. I do a lot of qualitative research and we do a lot of livability work, and dual zone thermostats are usually the #1 complaint that I get from consumers that have actually recently bought a home. And it's about temperature control, and it's about, you know, the upstairs is always too hot, the downstairs is always too cold. All those things continue to come up. So one of the things, I was a builder for 10 years and I was a developer for 10 years. One of the things I always looked for as to what I would include as an included feature was if over 50% of the population wanted something, that meant we should be including that. So at 80%, dual zone is really important. 54%, this number's come up quite dramatically actually over the years. And I will tell you, I looked at this by region for today's call, but 54% said they would pay an additional $15,000 for solar panels. And interestingly, the only regions that were under 50% were the Midwest, Southeast, and Southern Florida. So it was a pretty high percentage that are now really willing to pay for solar. And now they have solar that's so much more attractive today that actually blends in with the tiles. There's different ways that you can look at this. The biggest objection to solar panels is the look. Builders and consumers are concerned they don't want the whole neighborhood to look like they've got solar panels on the roof. So protecting that from a design standpoint is important. We asked consumers how many would actually pay more for air conditioning, and obviously air conditioning is really important across the country, but 95% were willing to pay an additional $5,000 for air conditioning, and 84% said they would pay an additional $1,000 for an upgraded energy efficient air conditioner as well. So that was important to them. Fans in the family room, the master bedroom, certainly not the fan that we're showing you here today. I've showed different fans in the past of things that you could do, but it's more than 3/4 that actually said they would pay $500 each for a fan in the family room and the master bedroom, so that's a must. It drops to about 69% for the secondary bedrooms, but that's still a pretty darn big number. So having fans in those rooms are very important. Power outlets with USBs. USBs, I mean, it's commonplace today. I don't think it's going anywhere. It's certainly, I'm going to relate it almost to the old floppy drives. My kids sort of scratch their head and look at me and when I even talk about floppy drives, but those are gone. But certainly I think we're going to have USB for quite some time. So include the USB in the outlets, and 80% actually do want them. Looking at security. Security is huge today, and there's so many opportunities today with security. So we asked about exterior versus interior. Exterior actually came out as more important than interior security by about 13%. So 64% said they'd pay an additional $250 for that exterior security camera. And again, it's super easy now just to link that with your phone. And another 51% actually said they'd pay an additional $250 for an interior security camera. As it relates to sort of that outdoor security, I mean, it's so cool now. You now can hit the doorbell, and if I'm not home, it literally will come up as a text on my phone. I can hit that button, see George that came over to visit, and literally call George and say, hey, I'm 15 minutes away. I'll see you shortly. So that doorbell now is far more than just, you know, ringing a bell on the inside of the home. It literally is connectivity no matter where you are all over the world. Your security camera obviously works in relationship to that, but also I use security cameras oftentimes just if someone's going to drop off a package or something like that. You can even allow them to obviously access the home with just, again, okay, I can see George is there. Click, George can go in and drop it off. You've got security inside and outside. He drops the package, he leaves. Intercom systems. Certainly intercoms are an opportunity. I think a lot of that's really moving to the smartphone. but certainly it's easier than having to go run and find your phone and things like that if you have intercom set up in portions of the home. So I'm still seeing that out there as well. Security is more than about children today. So today's consumers, we have more consumers with pets today than children, and they are rising in popularity. I think of the ones that have pets, it's over 60% of them actually treat their pets like royalty. So from pet spas to you name it, but also many people want to see their pets at home. You can even talk with an intercom system with a lot of these security systems to tell your dog or cat to get off the couch or whatever it is. But a lot of people want to check on their pets throughout the day. So it's more than about just checking on your children. We ask consumers about clean air and controlled clean air systems. So 69% were willing to pay an additional $1,200 for controlled clean air in their home. And again, I do see this percentage being slightly greater for the Asian population. That's a pretty big number. I was actually surprised to see that number so high. Again, I think we take for granted that we have clean air, but certainly important inside the home. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do out there. This is a great way to actually get cleaner air too. It's a vent system, and you can actually track it. There's home controls in each area that you can actually detect and so on. And they'll work with your overall whole smart home system. But the other part too is not just clean air, but just cleaning in your home made easy. I mean, if I could figure out how to get my smart device to actually clean my house, I'd be thrilled. But these are some other pieces that you can think about just to kind of set yourself apart or just make life a little bit easier for consumers. This isn't something obviously you'd include with the home, but this could be kind of a fun moving gift for your customers actually. But obviously it's the vacuum cleaner that literally will clean while you're gone. It parks itself back to where it started after it's done, and it recharges for the next day. You can set it up by time. It's pretty amazing. And so I know when these first came out, they didn't work terribly great, but everybody I know now that has this absolutely loves this. But a great kind of moving gift for home. There's actually now floors. I'm going to show you a wood and a tile product that actually will not only self-clean the floor, but it actually will help to clean air. So there's two different floor products. There's a tile that actually is a self-cleaning tile. I would love this. I have teenage boys, and boy, would I love this. And then there's also coatings for glass that help to reduce cleaning time. You know, that extra sort of trying to get the extra film off of the glass doors and keeping those clean and fresh looking all the time. They now have coating for both glass and tile to make it easier to clean. Mold is a huge deal for builders across the country. I worked for Pulte and Lennar, and it was really a super big deal, and they took it very, very seriously and did everything they could to avoid anything like this. And so just being able to track that before it happens is huge. If you've ever had to go through a slab leak or any of that stuff too, to know about that sooner versus than later, huge. And I have to believe by including something like this or installing that in every home, not only would create better health for all of your clients, but you'd also have a lot fewer customer service issues and probably spend less on the back end. Those kinds of things come up. This is really one that's been out there a lot. This is one that I see out there in the new home world quite a bit, and I'm seeing a lot more of this, which is really access to your front door with just simply a keypad. They actually have one that works with the iPhone as well. That's just a simple pad that you just sort of, almost like a fob getting into an office. It just allows you access in. So 53% said they'd pay an additional $250 for this. I'm actually surprised it's not higher. This is the greatest thing in the whole wide world. But I would tell you, remember that your front door is your first impression. So when you're looking to invest in that keypad, I've seen some very cheap looking keypads, and I've seen it done very well. So invest in that space because it's the first impression of the quality that you're actually going to be giving to your consumers, and that's important. The last part is you can use the one, I'm showing one from Kwikset here that you can actually easily access with your smartphone, but I would strongly recommend always having the one that has the key. I do have this, and I recently, the keypad went out. And so thankfully I had a key and I could still get in. But it's kind of a bummer if it goes out and there is no key access. And there are some with and without, so be sure to include that key. You know, I remember the days when the boombox was super cool and everybody had to have them. The bigger the boombox, the better. Now it's discreet and you want it hidden, and it's really just all about the music. And so 58% actually said that they would pay an additional $1,500 for an additional built-in sound system. 60% said they would pay an additional $1,500 for a built-in Bluetooth speakers. You know, this can happen for a lot of different spaces in the home, just simply music. How cool would it be when you had a consumer actually moving into their brand new home? You could literally turn on their music for them instantly as they're moving in, and it's instant enjoyment. But the other part too is that we're finding is, you know, gaming is really growing, not just for young kids, but for adults. I read a statistic recently that over 25% of adults over the age of 50 actually love to game on their free time. That's comical to me. But certainly with teenage boys, they would think they had died and gone to heaven if they had a room like this. But anything that you can do, again, just to make it more exciting and fun, and music is just fantastic. If you think about products, your home is the most expensive product you're ever going to buy. And things like the automobile, I mean, it's included. You would never buy a car without built-in sound. So this would be a nice way to differentiate yourself as well. Real simple. Instead of the clicker or the automatic door opener, I mean, it's kind of what iPhone did for your calendar, your phone, your contacts, all those things. They sort of made it simple and convenient. Well, again, all of smart home technology can just get rid of all those extra clickers and devices and stuff, even down to the TV. This is simply a virtual garage door. So again, instead of going for that clicker, your phone's always sort of at easy access, 53%. So they'd pay an additional $500 for a virtual garage door in their new home. If you add all these things up, remember they said they paid $2,500 for smart home technology. If you add all these numbers up, the cost to do this is nowhere near what they said they would pay for it. So just thinking through and connecting all of this technology for a new home really should add a substantial value to making life easier for your clients, but also I think it's a great proposition, and it brings us forward to where we should be today with home. This is all about community. So there are so many great ways to connect, and we all can connect with Facebook and Twitter and all those things, but I also have found that in master plans or in communities across the country, that the internet for events, updates, all that kind of stuff is huge. And so to be able to go online and actually find out what's happening tonight, or they even have bulletins for anybody in the neighborhood who wants to babysit or help out, or there's a wine tasting club, or all those things, it's huge. And it's all thought. It doesn't cost a lot to do this. It's all strategy. So 66% said that they wanted a community internet for events. And again, it's all about involvement and what community really is all about. Nextdoor is actually it's a community website that's actually already there, and it allows you to be interactive within your community. It's a really cool website. So if you don't have the time or you don't have the team to actually put this all together, Nextdoor is another way to market and start adding things onto to provide that sort of built-in community intranet as well. So this was really interesting to me, and this continues to grow as well. And I look to these kinds of solutions in areas where retail doesn't exist. So if we're building a master plan, or we're building a community that doesn't have retail within a 10 to 15 minute sort of drive time, what are the alternatives? And so we asked the question, would you appreciate virtual community retail? Or said differently, grocery orders just delivered to your door. Go online and actually make that happen. Amazon, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, Amazon now has, it's basically a virtual shopping device, and you can just, constantly put whatever you have on your list on this device and say go, and at one point it all just gets delivered to your front door. So some people love the experience of shopping, but for the most part, you can make all this stuff really easy. If it's harder to get to or harder to access, set it up like you planned it that way. We wanted full service everything for you, including your groceries brought to your front door. And there's so many great solutions in addition to Amazon Fresh that can help make that experience a more desirable experience. Water savings, I didn't ask questions this year on water savings, and I should have. It's a really big deal, especially here in California and Arizona and Nevada. It's becoming a very big deal. We have severe droughts going on. And so, for example, in California, there were penalties if you overuse water, and it can be quite substantial penalties, quite frankly. So, making sure that you're tracking water is really dollars to your bottom line. So thinking about that in the home that you're offering to would be huge. There are other kind of interesting things that I found interesting, and I love, everybody really wants a view. And if you see on the back screen here, the backsplash of that counter, those are actually LCD panels that you can either do a cooking show or you can be watching TV, or I just thought it was a very interesting space and an interesting application to home and making that kitchen more interesting. This is another fun moving gift. Obviously, this isn't going to be built into your home, but I thought I'd throw this in here right up there with sort of that robot vacuum cleaner. But this is coffee. I'm not even a coffee drinker, but I just love the idea of being able to actually turn that on from your smartphone. Just make it easy as you get out of bed. It's already there, or you can preset it the night before. But it's just life made easier. The virtual view, now they have this on the ceiling, and I know this happens a lot. Sometimes they'll do this in medical facilities and things like that. But I could see the virtual view really happening in great spaces like, again, the family room, or maybe if you have a smaller lot product or something like that, just a nice way to kind of cleverly offset and making that space feel bigger. You have glass, obviously, that can help you. And now there's so much you can do with LCD panels to actually brighten up a space today. We asked consumers if they would pay more for high-tech appliances as well. And so we're going to be doing an entire feature on kitchen and bath over the next couple of months. It's huge, and we have a lot more, too, that we've done on technology that breaks up by region and life stage and consumer groups and things like that. So this is a national look at this, but we also ask consumers about appliances, the brands that they want, the kinds of appliances they want, and all those things. But overall, people love kitchen. It's the most important space in the home. It continues to show up as the most important space in the home. And they will pay more for high-tech appliances. So 75% shared with us that they will pay more for high-tech appliances. So as we wrap up, those are the big things from a high-tech standpoint that I think really should be thought of and included in new homes today. Again, if you see anything out there that is clever, please email me. I'm always really interested in hearing what's going on out there, and we're also tracking that. Isabel Cairns from our office, who leads a lot of our Design Lens efforts, both of us are constantly looking at innovative ideas out there for the new home world. But they really want more time in their life. They want comfort in their home. Anything that actually supports health, it's huge. Again, the people you love are the most important part of your life. Security, again, along the same vein, and control. Control is about your finances, it's about your time, it's about everything that we just talked about. So that wraps up my presentation for 2016 major technology trends for the home, and I'll turn it back over to Liz for questions.
Thanks, Molly. Some really, really cool products in there. Definitely for really homeowners and builders to get excited about. Just want to thank you, Molly, and John Burns Real Estate Consulting, and Brad at GE Energy for both of your presentations and your valuable information today, and your partnership with HomeSphere. We have gotten a couple of questions, so I'll go ahead and sort through those. We've had a few asking about whether the slide decks will be available or the presentation will be available, and we are recording this session, so it will be available on our website at homesphere.com, and it will be available for you to rewatch here by Monday at the end of the day. A couple questions that I'll just give to Molly. First of all, Are there certain regions of the country that are looking for that home security option more than others, or is it kind of across the board? They want that the doorbells and the interior exterior security products.
Home security is very consistent across the country. It becomes more important for the more mature consumer. So we actually see things like even community features like gated, all security features. It does rise for the older consumer, but regionally or geographically, there's no big change. It's pretty compelling and, again, very economical to offer.
Great. We had another question just about that $2,500 range that homeowners are willing to pay extra for home technology products. What are the top 3 products that you would recommend builders adding in that price range, and what's the actual cost of installing these products to the builder?
So on all the questions we asked, I actually worked with a purchasing manager on cost. So what would it actually cost? And in most cases, I erred to the high side. So you'll actually see those for every one of the questions we asked. That wasn't my genius number I came up with. It actually came from a purchasing manager. So it depends on what it is, right? So as the top 3 things, though, that they're really looking for that I would include, no questions asked, being able to control your lights on and off from a remote location, so lighting was huge. Again, the controllable thermostat, either in the home or 30 minutes away from the home, and the thermostat that adjusts for your time. You know, you can actually set it up to turn on as you're getting there, and so on. It can even adjust for different people, so it'll know your actual temperature preferences. It's amazing what they can do with temperature control. So it's lighting, temperature control, and then the last one is the security camera. So it's a wow item to be able to include, and I would include 2. I would include one at the front door, and I would include one inside the home. Typically, the one inside the home is in the family room kitchen area, geared towards the back door, and the one inside or outside the home is the one at the front door. So again, it can be used for that doorbell, almost like an intercom service, or again, letting somebody into the home, and it works interactively with the front door.
Great. And do you see, obviously homeowners want these products, and a lot of these products like Nest, homeowners can go out and shop and install themselves. Are you seeing homeowners going out and making these improvements to their existing homes in addition to wanting them in their next home?
Well, so I can't address that because I haven't done that specific consumer research. I can only guess that's probably the case. We're asking what they want next. And so, and that does continue to come up as, I mean, you saw the numbers. It was pretty compelling.
Great. Well, those are all the questions that we had today. And I just wanted to, again, thank Mollie and Brad for your valuable information. And thanks to everyone for hopping on our call today and your participation. If you could remember to take a moment to like HomeSphere on Facebook. We will post updates, post the recording of this session and our future webinar event opportunities throughout the second half of the year there. So it's a good place to catch up with us. If you're a builder and you are looking to learn more about GE Energy products or collecting rebates from our other preferred partners, please feel free to reach out directly to me. And if you're attending PCBC this June in San Francisco, we'd love to hear from you and connect in person with you at the show. It's coming up quick, so looking to meet up with any of our customers or potential customers. In the meantime, again, stay tuned to our future webinar events. We hold them quarterly with John Burns and Mollie, and our next event will actually be our Morgan Stanley Mid-Year Housing Market Checkpoint. So keep an eye out for your invitation to register for that event. Once again, thanks for joining us today, and I hope everybody has a great day.